Good morning. We're here at ACFW, Indianapolis, and Anita Higman has graciously decided to have an interview with us, and I want to thank you so much, Anita, for coming. She has Winter in Gloom that she just, and we're going to put it up here, that just released. It's a marvelous book about two girls who meet one another. They don't know that they're twins. They are on the other side of the world, with Australia and Houston are the two places of the settings, and it's a wonderful, redeeming, enriching book. Now, what was the inspiration for your story, Anita?
Well, it's also sort of a family saga, and there's a lot of family dysfunction in there. And
yes.
So that is actually something I know something about. And so
now, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. How personal was this story as far as the dysfunction?
There is some of that, touches here and there of some of the things that are truly real. I would say even more so are the fact that Lily was going through empty nest. And at the time, I was going through empty nest too. And my husband was in Australia for a little while on business, and I went over there to meet him. And the thing is, I had a terrible fear of flying. I hadn't flown, I think, about 15 years.
Oh, so that was you.
That was me. And I let my daughter go to college and dropped her off, which I cried and cried and cried. And the empty nest was so rough on me. And here I ended up, it was sort of a chance in a lifetime kind of a thing. So I went to Melbourne, and it's not pronounced Melbourne, it's Melbourne, the way they say it.
I just noticed that.
And so I went over there to be with my husband, and the flight was terrifying. It was very much like the way Lily was in the book, you know, the way the book opened, and being truly terrified to be on a flight to go around the world, and then also leaving her daughter behind in college. And so I lived all of that. That was all happening to me. And so if it seemed real, it was because it was all happening to me. And as far as the dysfunction, everybody I know has dysfunction in their family.
Absolutely.
It's just different degrees of it. So I touched a little bit on that too. But more important than the family dysfunction, I wanted there to be a sense of, a strong sense of reconciliation. Because families really, I know God wants us to do that. I know He wants us to reconcile. And sometimes we have to say we're sorry. And those are the hardest things. You know, we can easily point at other people in the family and say, well, it's kind of their deal. It's kind of their fault. But you know what? What's even harder sometimes is looking at ourselves and thinking, you know what? I think some of that was my fault.
You mentioned reconciliation. Why is that so important to you?
Well, God has forgiven us, each of us, for, you know, all of our sins. And I think I know He really wants us to do that for other people. And sometimes we'll even give that forgiveness to strangers more easily than we will our own family members. And I really do feel like we need to do all that we can to reconcile as families. And there was one gentleman who read the book and said, you know what, after reading this book, I'm going to reconcile with my family. And that means everything to me. Writing for 30 years, you know, it was worth it all to hear somebody say those kinds of things, that he saw how important it is to reconcile.
Now, were you involved in music?
Well, my daughter was involved in music, and my mother was, she played the piano for the church for 40 years. And my father loved to play the harmonica. And so there is some music around in our family. I play the piano very poorly, let's say. Very, very poorly, as somebody might say in a Jane Austen novel. Only I really do. I mean, he's frightening. You wouldn't want to be in the room. But anyway, so yes, there is music in the book, and that's because of the influence around in my family, not really from me.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a twin? Or are there
No,
twins
I do
in
not.
your family?
I do not, and so I had to call my aunt, and there are twins in our family, a little more distant, so it's not just, you know, I don't have a twin, but it's in the family, so I had to ask her some questions about what that's like, and so I got a little information. Plus, I got online and started researching twins, and that's where I got some of the information about identical twins, you know, that kind of thing.
Now, when you went to Australia, what was your favorite site or experience? Is that where you set the book?
Well, they have in the city of Melbourne that goes along the Yarra River. They have a botanical garden there, and it's just absolutely spectacular. It's the Royal Botanic Gardens of Melbourne, and it is just amazing, not to be missed. And so as often as I could, I was there almost 3 weeks, and I would have been there a lot longer, but Hurricane Ike messed up our house, and we had to rush home because our house was messed up in that hurricane. Otherwise, I would have been there even longer. But anyway, I tried to get there as often as I could during the 3 weeks that I was there to go to the Botanic Gardens, and that's one of the first scenes when she arrives, is she sits there on that bench. Well, I was on one of those benches with my husband, and oh, I just love that garden. It's just not to be missed. So if you ever do make it to Melbourne, do not miss their gardens there.
I have a request for you. Can you show the cover of your book?
Sure. I'd love to.
Okay, this is The Winter in Full Bloom. Can you explain a little bit about the cover? Because it's one of the most intriguing covers I've seen in years.
Thank you. I have had a lot of comments about this cover, and I agree. It is really beautiful. It has almost a historical look to it.
Yes.
But it is a contemporary novel. But actually, the gals in my church had some input on this. First of all, I was given a number of different covers from the publisher, and they were just wonderful about it. And they said, which do you choose of all these? And they were all very different. And I chose this one, but this one was different. And so I said, would it be all right to go to my church, for instance, and get some input from the ladies at church? And they thought it was a wonderful idea. In fact, I think that was their idea to do that. And I went to church, and boy, they really have a lot of strong opinions about covers. And so they said, one gal said, why don't you have, instead of, I think at one point there was just like one tulip, red tulip or something there. And they said, why don't you have the flowers going up all along the path? That would make it more spectacular and interesting. And sure enough, the publisher, I made a whole report of everything that the gals said at church, turned that report in, and I mean, they went through and really redid the cover, and it turned out to be truly spectacular, I think. So
it really is.
And intriguing, and there's sort of a haunting mystery kind of look to it too. And
it leaves many questions with the story, because I didn't even know if it was an historical or a contemporary. I didn't really know what I was reading until I started, and I said, oh, this is just stunning. So I'm excited about it. Now, what is your next project?
Well, the next book coming out is called A Marriage in Middlebury, and that will be out through Abingdon Press, and I'm excited about that. That's a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit more romance. This one, A Winter in Full Bloom, was kind of half and half. It was some romance, but it was some women's fiction too, dealing with family drama. But A Marriage in Middlebury is more, a little bit more romance and more comedy, and which I have a lot of fun writing that. And small town America. So if you like small town America and you like romantic comedy and you like all that kind of thing, I think you'll like it.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure we will. Now, do you have a project beyond that?
Yes, I've got also some nonfiction. I write nonfiction as well, and so I've got a couple of co-authored devotional books coming out. And then next year...
What are the names of the devotionals?
How God Grows a Woman of Wisdom, and unless that title gets changed, but I believe that's what it is. And then Daily Grace for Daily Life is one that I wrote with my daughter, and that comes out through Barber, and it comes out in November. And I am so excited because she is Hillary McMullen, and she is a marvelous writer. She's a better writer than I am. And she wrote the book with me, and I'm just really proud of her. Can you tell?
Is she the one that went away to college, or is she?
Yeah, she's the one. And then we got all through that, and she graduated highest honors in 3 years, and she did very well in English, and now she's going on and getting some more studies in biblical studies.
Oh, wow.
But she is a wonderful writer.
Can you tell she's a proud mama?
Yeah, I get really obnoxious. We better not keep going down this way, because I just keep bragging about her all the time. No, and my son, too. My son is wonderful, too.
Now, is this going to be a series at all in any way, shape, or form? The Winter in Full Bloom?
Well, it's kind of set up for a sequel.
I
guess
really
you can tell that at the end that the sister, Camille, is on her way. Well, I guess I shouldn't give too much away. But
that's really not giving it away. Yeah. That's perfect.
It's sort of set up to possibly have something happen in Ireland. And my husband and I just got back from Ireland not that long ago.
Oh, you did?
And one of the reasons was for a research trip for a possible sequel. But I'm not sure.
I like your research trip.
Yeah, I know, I do too, very much so. But I'm just not sure. I suddenly got a passion for another story of a very, very different kind. And I have such a passion for this other sort of standalone idea that I have. I think I need to write that one first. So it's kind of interesting. You kind of need to go with what you have a lot of passion for.
Absolutely.
Because I think the readers, that resonates with them.
It absolutely, and you write what you know, so that's why your writing is so terrific.
Thank you.
Now, you said you've been in the business for 30 years.
That's right.
We've seen you a little bit. Can you give us your journey, a little bit of your journey?
Wow.
Yeah.
It has been a really long journey. Because when I got started, I was writing all kinds of books, which is why some people still don't know who Anita Higman is because for a long time I was writing some books even that went into the public school system, which are still being sold to this day, which was a long, long time ago. And so I wrote books of one-act plays, which were getting, and those are still getting, I think, produced around as like church dinner theater type plays, one-act plays, and all kinds of books, poetry and nonfiction, and I mean, I just dabbled in everything. And during those years, which was good, I built up my skill. But the problem is, every time you move from genre to genre, you lose your readers. Because they don't, if you write in one area, say one-act plays or something, they're not going to suddenly and move over necessarily and find you writing Christian romance. That may be so different that they're not going to move over. And so you start all over again. And so I have started over with different readers over and over and over. And hopefully now I'm going to stay put. So
well, I think this is the synthesis of all your previous books. It certainly looks like we're going to be knowing the name of Anita Higman very, very much in the future, and I'm very excited about that. I just have one little question back to Winter in Full Bloom. Was there a reason for using all the different flowers in the naming of your characters?
Well, for one thing, I love flowers. Ever since I was a little girl. I grew up on a farm in Oklahoma, and I asked my dad, I said, can I tear up some of the lawn and make a flower garden? And sure, why not, And so, because when you're on a farm, it's not like in a subdivision where you can't just tear up the front lawn or whatever and make a flower garden. But he said, sure. And so I tore up a huge area of the yard and made this huge flower garden, and I just loved it. And I've always loved flowers. And I don't know, I just got the idea that I thought that would be a neat thing.
It was a neat thing. I said, ooh, she must be a gardener.
Yeah, I am. I love flowers. I'm not sure how good of a gardener I am. I still have quite a few things that are dying on me, and probably dying right now at home in Houston if they're not getting all the right water and everything. But I do love flowers very much.
Now, one of the things I also wanted to ask you is whether or not you have a critique partner.
No, I do not. Now, I did years ago, and we would read first 2 or 3 chapters of each other's stuff, and we would go back and forth. And then I think we just got where we were kind of comfortable enough to be on our own. However, my daughter, Hillary McMullen, once again, she has critiqued my stuff, for many years. And
so she is your critique partner.
She really was. And then eventually I started paying her because her critiquing got really top notch, and I felt like she deserved the money, and so I started paying her. And so she's marvelous at critiquing my stuff, and she's brutal, wonderfully brutal. Because I ask her to be. I say, look, I want you to be tough. I want you to be tough on me, and boy, she is. And I'm so glad because she'll just keep forcing me to bring it up another level, and. Because in college they had her reading all the classics, and so she had the bar way up there, and so she just keeps encouraging me, and so I want her to be that way. She's excellent. And then my husband does too. He reads in fact right now he's at home reading my next novel that'll come out next year, and so he critiques my things too. So I guess I do have critique partners.
Yes,
my family. Yeah.
Now, what is one nugget of advice that you would give to aspiring writers at this stage?
Well, if you're not called to this and you're not ready for the long haul of this, run. Just run from it as fast as you can.
That's great advice. Kind of interesting.
You know, but the thing is, if you're called to it, though, you're just going to keep coming back to it. You can run away from it, but if you're really called to this and God's called you to do this and you have it in you to do this, it's like you were made for it. Even if you do run, you'll come right back to it. Because during the 30 years, I think there was a 6-month period where I got so frustrated at one situation, I just walked away for 6 months, came right back to it. So if you're meant to do it, you'll probably just keep coming right back. So there you go.
Now, what do you do to get away from it all?
Well, my husband and I do go on trips now that we have empty nest. And that was one of the ways I got through empty nest is I thought, well, this is time to travel. Time to travel before arthritis sets in and you can't move and hike. Because we like to hike wherever we go. And so we've been traveling, went to Alaska and went to Hawaii and Ireland and France and different places. And next year, hopefully, we'll go to Tuscany and the fjords of Norway and places like that. And so that's one of the things we do to get away.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to interview with us. It has been a great pleasure. I've been so excited because Anita and I actually go way back.
We do indeed. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate this.
This is great. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.